Alrighty, hi guys, James Cards FC here. Thanks for tuning into this video. I'm sitting here with Andre Soccer Study. A lot of you guys probably know his channel already if you have viewed mine. Big inspiration for my channel, so happy to be with him today. Part one of this video is actually on his channel. If you haven't seen it, we're going through the Soccer Study Discord, reacting to some hot takes that people have left here. So if you haven't seen the first video, go ahead and click on his channel. But if you have seen that first video, welcome to my channel, and we'll go ahead and get started with the rest of the takes. So, Andre, you want to say anything to the fans of my channel that probably already know who you are?
I mean, it's a pleasure to be on your channel. I think you are doing a great job, and yeah, I mean, congrats on the growth of the channel. I think is impressive that you are growing so fast. But in the other end, I'm not surprised. So.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun. So we'll go ahead and get into the takes here. The first one's actually yours. And it says that Lewandowski and Benzema are getting close to entering the top 20 players of all time. I'll go ahead and let you start with your explanation for this, and then I'll go into my take on it.
Okay, first of all, for the people that may not watch the first video, all of those have a fun component. All of those, we are trying to be a little bit edgy. So again, do I think those two guys are top 20 players of all time at this point? No. But I actually believe they have the potential for that. Will be difficult, for sure. But if you think about Lewandowski, look, Lewandowski, if he stays at Bayern Munich, most likely will break all records on Bundesliga, will be the top goal scorer in Bundesliga, already end up breaking the Gerd Müller records. On Champions League, I believe Lewandowski is number 3 behind Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. So we are talking players that are great, and even off the top of my head, I'm not sure, but even if you look at the list of the top 20 goal scorers ever, Lewandowski most likely will be top 10. And Benzema, you can apply almost the same arguments. Benzema have less goals, but Benzema, for example, most likely will win Ballon d'Or at the end of the year. In this case, it's actually September. So look, there is a scenario on that, and Benzema, of course, playing for France, potentially winning a World Cup, potentially being one of the best players on the team. Again, who knows, super difficult to predict. I thought it was a fun hot take, and I honestly see a scenario on that front. For me, and I say this all the time, Lewandowski and Benzema are already some of the best players I ever saw, especially on the position number 9.
Yeah, I think that Lewandowski is probably closer to reaching that top 20 than Benzema is, just because of the position he's going to be at the end of his career with all the goals scored. He's going to be at the top of the Bundesliga record books, and perhaps pretty far ahead of everyone else, depending on how his career holds up in terms of injuries and playing with Bayern and all that. So I think he's closer. Benzema, I think it's tougher for him just because he was in Ronaldo's shadow for so long. So that's going to hold him back a bit. Winning the Ballon d'Or is going to help a lot, but top 20, it's tough. I know at the end of the Champions League, when his career's all over, he's going to be top 3 or 4 in goals, so that's going to help a lot. But top 20 for Benzema might be a stretch, in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, again, of course, there is that scenario, and I believe a lot in Lewandowski, so I would not even disagree with you on that. And people talk a lot about narratives in the market, and sometimes they use narratives to make a connection with pump and dump being real, because look, this is the new narrative. But honestly, it's quite smart to invest in narratives. Look, and I made a video on my YouTube saying investing in old players, and Lewandowski and Benzema end up being the examples I end up showing. Look, if you invest in a player like Lewandowski, even if the narrative is not there that he is one of the best players ever, one of the best players in Bundesliga, we know that the records are quite close to being break. So investing in narratives is something that people honestly is quite undervalued on the market. People do not understand this type of stuff for some reason. I think honestly is a lack of knowledge for a lot of in big part of the market. But trying to predict narratives is difficult, but there is a lot of opportunity on that front.
Yeah, I think depending on what the narrative is, it's still a good option. When the narrative is something like, well, Lewandowski is going to be at the top of the goal scoring leaderboards for a long time, and the gap between him and everyone else might get pretty big in the Bundesliga. A narrative like that is pretty easy to follow, as opposed to narratives on like specific sets or specific inserts and stuff like that. So I think there's room to grow there in terms of narratives on the market.
Yeah, but that's why I was saying soccer is very special for that. You can actually prospect in old players if you think about.
Mm-hmm.
And in other markets, they are way more optimized than the soccer card market. And you can't do that. In soccer, you can. I mean, the rookie for Benzema not that long time ago was $20 on eBay.
I think it still is.
I'm talking about the Panini foot. I think that's quite more expensive. But yeah, the LCF probably still is $20 or something like that. So if you think about, if you put that in perspective, look, Benzema was already very, very good 1 year ago. What ended up changing? Yeah, the season is amazing. Most likely will win Ballon d'Or. Not saying that's irrelevant, but even 1 year ago, the buying Benzema was an interesting option in my perspective. I personally bought Benzema 1 year ago. So again, not because I'm doing well right now, but even if the Benzema market was stable, I would still be happy holding a player like Benzema. And I'm saying Benzema, Lewandowski, but there is more. I mean, there is Thomas Muller, Dani Alves. There is so many legendary players that deserve more attention. Sergio Ramos. I mean, so many. So yeah.
Yeah. Alrighty, we'll move on to the next one, which says here that Ronaldo will be at World Cup 2026 with the disclaimer that he will not pass up a World Cup in the United States. I'll go ahead and start with this one. I'm not sure. So if he's still playing and if he wants to be on the team, he'll make the team pretty much, at least in my opinion, because why would you not let Ronaldo be on the team at that point? Even if it's a bench role, you're going to have him on the squad. But yeah, it just depends on what his career looks like over the next 4 years, because he'd be pretty old once we get to that point. So at least in my opinion, it's a question of if he holds up and if he wants to do it.
I mean, yeah, difficult to predict. I would say one thing. If Messi is playing on 2026, Ronaldo will be on the World Cup, because that man will only stop when Messi stops. Otherwise, he will be too much afraid of Messi breaking his records. And look, Ronaldo is a machine. So if there is a guy that can do it, it's Cristiano Ronaldo, to be honest. So yeah, I would say I agree to be fair.
Alrighty, the next take here was La Liga is better than the Premier League. I don't think I necessarily agree with that. I think the La Liga is top heavy, like a bunch of the other leagues that are not the Premier League. Now, the Premier League is top heavy, don't get me wrong, but I believe the mid and lower tier tables in the mid and lower tier teams in the Premier League would beat the mid and lower tier teams in La Liga. I
mean, I would say this. I like to watch Premier League way more than I like to watch La Liga, but in the past, Barcelona Real Madrid was amazing. So I can see why he's saying that. But if you just look at the league, the Premier League is the best league in the world. But at one point in time, and for me that's the golden era, when Cristiano Ronaldo was with Real Madrid with such a strong team, when Barcelona was basically one of the best teams in the world, Messi, Villa, etc. That time was a magic time for La Liga, understanding that those two teams, like you said, are much better than the competition. But to be fair, I believe Athletic made the two Champions League finals. So even Athletic was quite good at that time. So
yeah, Griezmann won a title, right?
I don't. Griezmann won. I believe Europa League, not Champions League.
Europa League, that's the one. Yeah.
But yeah, look, another title for Athletic, even if it's a smaller competition. But I would say Premier League is better. But I love La Liga. I would go with Premier League. Yeah.
The last take here was that Messi returned to the Argentina national team just because Ronaldo and the GOAT discussion. I mean, I don't know about that. I think it just, that's the one thing that's missing from Messi's trophy case, right? Was winning Copa America. Now it's the World Cup. So I don't think he wants to retire without at least having a few more shots at those.
Yeah, look, if this was the opposite, Cristiano Ronaldo end up retiring and then coming back, I would agree. I don't think Messi cares that much about I honestly think Messi does not care about being the best ever. I think Messi ended up becoming the best ever, and Ronaldo really tried to become to be the GOAT. So again, I think Messi have a really difficult relationship with Argentina fans, and probably for his mental state, he thought was good to basically retire from Argentina. But with time, again, he ended up probably understanding that that was not the correct way to do it.
Mhm. Yeah. We'll move to the next one. This one's interesting. Newcastle United will be challenging for top four finishes by 2024/2025 season. I haven't stayed too much up to date with the takeover that's going on there in terms of the amount of money they're going to be coming by in the next few years. So I don't exactly know how much their funding is going to be, but if their funding is equal to the current top four teams in the Premier League, I think it would be reasonable to assume that in the next 3 or 4 years, they'll probably be able to put together a team that can challenge for a top four spot.
I mean, I think the owner of Newcastle is actually the richer than the others, the PSG, City, etc. So there is a scenario on that. I mean, look at City. City a couple of years ago was a good team, but not more than that. And now City is winning Premier League over and over. So yeah, there is a scenario being really something that not a big fan, but is possible. So.
Yeah. We'll move to the Luis Diaz take here, which is that Luis Diaz is still underrated. I'll let you go ahead and start with this one.
Okay, first shout out to Drizno. Is amazing.
Yes, he's a legend.
His name is actually Andres. Amazing guy to have in the hobby. He's still underrated. I agree because if you look at his performance with Liverpool, look, he's better than Salah. I don't think so. He's better than Mane. I don't think so. But guess what? I think those two are probably top 10 players in the world, maybe even top 5. There is a discussion for both. So Luis Diaz is a machine. He probably will get even better and better, and maybe will be close to the level of a Salah. So I would say he's underrated. Again, in the macro perspective, I'm not saying buy this card because this guy will go up. I'm saying in general, just looking at the soccer card market, I see so many people talking about especially players from the UK that I don't think are that special, and Luis Diaz is the man. So
yeah, I think it's important that you make that distinction there. That you can talk about this two different ways. Is he underrated in terms of the hobby, or is he underrated in terms of like the global soccer game outside of what is just the hobby? And I think in both cases there are cases for why he is still underrated. I worry about him a bit in the hobby sense just because he's already 25 and he's not close to being the best player on that squad. And in order for somebody to have hobby relevancy, at least in the current market structure, they need to be the best player on the squad or the second best, and that team needs to win a bunch of trophies. And so him already being 25, I think, hurts him from that progression. But he does seem a bit underrated in that sense. I just think there's probably a lot better options in that age group.
I mean, yeah, I like Luis Diaz because I actually ended up following Luis Diaz's career at Porto, since I'm from Portugal. The guy is amazing, and I honestly believe next season will be even better. So
yeah, I think there's a scenario that could turn out really well for him. I would just be worried about that he's already 25, and the hobby doesn't usually seem to gravitate to those sorts of players. But there's always a scenario where he could be that guy. Yeah. Next take comes from United States men's national team soccer cards, big account, has a lot of good takes. He says he hates how over-edited a lot of modern cards are. He'd much rather have a shot of a player on a pitch in front of a background more than a picture of a player flying through space with dinosaurs flying by. I think it depends on the set, right? So there are sets, in my opinion, that go completely over the top with their photo editing. And I do long for the sets like the Beckenbauer rookie set and the Maradona rookie set, and vintage sets like that I think look great. 2004 Mega Cracks I think is one of the best looking sets. But in specific cases, I do like the ultra modern stuff. I really like 2018 Kaboom. I think that set looks really nice. I really like 2017 Kaboom. I think that looks really nice. And then some of the Mega Cracks inserts, while they're not they're not spaceships and dinosaurs. They are more intricate in terms of their design than what we normally see, and I like those as well.
I would say I agree. I mean, I think sometimes there is a couple of ultra modern cars that I do not see the appeal. I like things that are quite clean. I like Panini Trouble because of that, because it's just the player and a clean background in the end. But again, this is relative and this personal preference. I agree, basically.
Yeah. Mount's Goat has the next one, which is that low-numbered ultra-modern cards are the way to go for now, not pre-modern. I was the one that put the cap emoji there, so I'll let you go ahead and start with this one.
Okay, so this is the one that I was waiting for.
Good. Have the floor.
Look, low-number ultra-modern cards are the way to go for now. Let's be real. There is argument to be made on this, because pre-modern in particular, we end up seeing pops going up quite a lot. And like I say, rarity is not the only thing, but is the most important thing. That being said, ultra modern, there is a lot of niche in ultra modern. Look, if you tell me I'm buying Messi gold parallels, I think that's fine. If you tell me I'm buying I'm buying Antony gold or something like that, a new kid, by the way, Antony is a great player. I'm not so sure about that. I think if you put money in a player like Zidane, in a player like Ronaldo, does not need to be the rookie. Could be a second year, a third year. I think you are parking your money in a way safer card. Again, understanding that cards are a super speculative asset, so everything is at risk, no matter if you go to ultra modern, to, again, vintage, does not matter. Cards, they have a lot of risk. So I disagree with this one. I understand the perspective on this one, but I'm not sure if the intention was good.
Yeah, so in my opinion, it depends on exactly what you're trying to do in the market. So if you're just trying to be a flipper that moves in and out of positions really quickly, going with what's hot makes a lot of sense, but you're going to run into the issue of somebody's eventually going to be holding the bag there, and you really don't want that to be you. So while ultra modern low number cards are really hot right now, there's a scenario in a few months where the narrative completely flips and nobody cares about them anymore. So you have to be really dangerous. You have to be really careful with that if you're going to be playing that sort of flipping game with the low numbered ultra modern stuff. In a longer term investing time horizon, I do believe that there are going to be very specific cases of ultra modern cards that outperform even the pre-modern cards. For Messi, for example, I think there's probably some really low number parallels that'll do better than a lot of his older cards, but the problem is trying to predict which ones those are out of all the different sets that we have. So yeah, in general, it's a lot. You talk about this, cards are really risky, but in general, it seems to be a lot safer to just go for the really obvious ones as opposed to trying to take this risk on the ultra modern stuff.
And the thing is, I'm not saying this person in particular had bad intentions with this question, because again, I think this is for fun and we need to take every take with a grain of salt. But when people, again, not talking to this person, says that low number cards are the way to go, honestly, automatic makes me believe that a lot of those guys do not care that much about the soccer card market. This is something that, if you really grind the history of the soccer card market, if you really feel a passion for the soccer card market, vintage and pre-modern will always have a soft spot in your collection. Because look, we collect. What's the reason to collect cards? Well, there is no nostalgia. I would say nostalgia gets a little bit more difficult for the American market, but in the other end, it's about history, it's about lineage, it's about respecting certain players, and respecting a player is almost, look, I collect the early stuff for this type of player. So let's say you are buying a Messi rookie, that the pop is 1K, and then you buy a ultra modern card that the pop is out of 99. Again, rarity, the most important thing, but not the only thing. In one end, you have lineage, you have history, you have eye appealing. I mean, you have iconic card. There is so many good fundamentals that then you have in pre-modern and in vintage that they lack really bad on the ultra modern side. Again, there is exceptions, but in general, this type of take, I do not understand that well.
Yeah, and I think you touched on a really important point there, which is what is the reason for collecting or purchasing these cards? And for the low numbered ultra modern, I would say the majority of the market is just purchasing those in an attempt to make money as opposed to actually wanting to collect and buy them to have in their collection. So I'm not saying that nobody is doing that, but I would say the majority of what I see is people buying ultra modern cards for trying to chase ROIs rather than building a collection with them.
Yeah, there is a lot of get rich quick mentality in the hobby. I mean, and look, I will be the last person telling you that you should not make money with the hobby, because I think that that's also quite stupid. In the other end, the reality is a lot of this modern stuff, apart from the fake rarity, apart from manufacturer scarcity, they lack all the fundamentals. Can those cars one day be iconic? Can those cars one day be important? Yes, but people that put those cards above historical cards, for me, gets a little bit tricky to understand. A lot of times, and this is, again, real talk, buying a Cristiano Ronaldo rookie is expensive. So trying to push the narrative that the new set for Cristiano Ronaldo is the way to go tends to be a little bit easier because more people can actually enter that market. But one thing that people need to understand, do not confuse what you want, what you believe, versus what the market wants, what the market will believe in the future. Otherwise, look, maybe short term, you can trick one guy or two. Long run will be very difficult.
Yeah, and I think the important takeaway is that at the end of the day, when we talk about the long run, all these cards have to have a home, and somebody has to purchase them to house them in their collection. And so, I would recommend targeting things that are pretty obvious to what somebody is going to want to have in their collection. And I just think there's less cases for that when we talk about ultra modern.
No, for sure.
Yeah. All right. We'll move to the next two, which kind of go in tandem here. They both talk about how the hobby is not great for the environment and that they printed so many cards in the Junk Wax era that it actually triggered global warming. Not really, but not far off. My take on this, without being an environmentalist, would be, yeah, printing millions of cards is probably not great for the environment. So I'm not sure exactly how they would get around that, but yeah, it's probably not great for the environment.
Yeah, a shout out to Roberto Deck, great goalkeeper, by the way, and to NRR, also a guy that I tend to talk on Discord. I mean, 100%. I mean, a lot of plastic. So PSA is putting a lot of plastic out there. BGS the same, SEC the same. That's most likely not that good. Saying that end up triggering global warming. I mean, come on. I think that's a little bit more bananas, but is a fun one.
It's called hot takes for a reason, right?
Yeah.
All right. The next one is from Golden Ball Rookies on Instagram. I will end up with the same number of Ballon d'Ors as Haaland, Lewandowski, and Zlatan combined will end their careers with, which is 0.
Okay, let me
go ahead
and this start. One. I actually do not like this take for one reason. We know that Lewandowski was robbed at least in one Ballon d'Or. I'm talking the COVID one. I'm not even talking about the Messi one, because I still believe Lewandowski could have 2 Ballon d'Ors at this point. But saying this is unfair because we know Lewandowski ended up winning 2 times best player in the world. So okay, he lacks the Ballon d'Or right now, but the reality is Lewandowski is that type of a player. If Lewandowski had 2 Ballon d'Ors right now, I think will be totally fair. And I believe Haaland have a great shot to win Ballon d'Or, similar to Mbappe. Lewandowski next year will be one of the favorites to win Ballon d'Or again. Zlatan Ibrahimovic, of course, that's not the case. Ibrahimovic is in the final stage of his career, but even Zlatan is a legend. People focus a lot on this Ballon d'Or stuff, and look, is important. And in the end, players that have Ballon d'Or, the hobby shows that they become way more collectible than players that do not have Ballon d'Or. But that's not the only thing. I mean, Iniesta never won Ballon d'Or. Neymar never won Ballon d'Or. And we all love those 2 guys. Maybe Neymar a little bit more debatable, but Xavi, for example, Pirlo, I mean, Buffon, those guys are legends. Zlatan is a legend. Lewandowski is a legend. And Haaland, in my perspective, with Lewandowski, they can still win Ballon d'Or. And I think if in the next Ballon d'Or, FIFA actually gives Lewandowski the award, in the sense they actually said they are thinking about giving the Ballon d'Or of the COVID season, this take will not age well. Again, is a funny take, but I disagree in general. Because I believe Haaland and Lewandowski can win, especially Haaland since they're so young.
Yeah, you kind of stole my take there with Lewandowski pretty much already has one. I think in the general consensus, we all understand that his is the COVID year one. And whether they eventually give it to him or not officially, I think it's pretty much understood that he was by far the best player that season and he deserved to win. So he's already going to have one, at least in my book. Haaland, probably from what we've seen of this next generation, has the best shot along with Mbappe to win Ballon d'Ors. I'm sure there'll be a kid that comes out of nowhere over the next 5 years that'll challenge both of them for it. But at least for now, it seems plausible that he might eventually win one.
Yeah.
Alrighty, moving forward to the next one. Kopi says, I will pick my card collection over my partner. I was the one that put up the ring icon there. I don't recommend this strategy. Yeah, one of them is cardboard and one of them is a real person, but to each their own, I guess.
This is a fun one. What I would say is, or the cards you collect, that they will never love you back, and if you have a great wife, that's different. So I disagree, but I think it's funny.
Alrighty, Mount is Goat has a few more here. The first one is SGC will have zero edge soon if PSA goes balls deep and may fall out of the picture. I'll go ahead and the obvious to this one as well. CSG may dodge the bullet if they play the relationship with eBay well, and BGS will also lose out if they fail to distinguish the new counterfeit stickers. So I think I actually had a more explained version of this take in a different thread on the Discord, but my take is that once PSA gets their fully operational battle station together, I think it's very difficult to see how these other grading companies factor in without getting swallowed up and becoming a part of PSA or some other conglomerate themselves, just because the output PSA is going to have is going to be nearly 20x what SGC and BGS can do. And their slabs will probably always have the PSA premium on the market. They'll be able to compete with SGC on pricing as well as turnaround times. So with SGC, the value proposition there is that they're good for collectors and they have good customer service. And I just don't think that the majority of the market really is going to turn to that when PSA is fully operational. But interested to hear your take on that.
I mean, I honestly believe people do not understand one thing, that they keep saying when PSA gets back is over for the others. Look, sometimes people, they believe BGS will be the number one, SCC will be the number one. No, it's not that. I grade with SCC, I grade with BGS. Do I believe they will surpass PSA? No, but I think the market will be good for all of those major companies. Look, there is some people, they reject to grade with PSA, they reject to grade with BGS. So automatically that there will be a market for them. And look, there is so many things happening right now on the grading game. There is so much technology probably getting implemented very soon on the grading game. Look, if SCC, if BGS, or even another company can end up eating the market with something very new, look, things can change really, really fast. Again, do I think PSA will be the number one? Honestly, yes. Do I think SCC will lose their market share? No, because they've been doing an amazing job, and people... Look, if at least the way I think, I guess I can speak for myself alone, but the way I think is, if a company treats me well, if I'm grading cards just for my collection, putting inside of a SEC slab, a BGS slab, for me is almost irrelevant. So I would disagree in general, but I still think PSA will be the number one.
Yeah, and I'll add on to this when we talk about the super long run in 20 plus, 30 plus years with your super long run holds. I don't think it'll matter at all what case it's in, because I think we're going to get to a point where there's full AI grading and we'll have a defined objective scale for grading. And at that point, everything is going to have to get regraded anyways, or we just won't care about grades as much as we do now. So I think in the really long run, it doesn't really matter which company you're going with.
And honestly, this is one of the biggest trends in vintage, because sometimes the grade does not matter, and if the grade does not matter, most likely the grading company also does not matter. You saw it, and I believe a lot of your viewers also saw it. I bought the 78 Libros de Estampas PSA to Maradona, the rookie card. Look, if that card was a SEC2, it's irrelevant, being real. It's the same thing. It's a low grade. It's a card that has strong rarity no matter what. So again, the way I like to approach the market, and even more nowadays, is buy things that the grade does not matter that much, being real. Because if you are buying PSA 10s, I honestly believe that's one of the worst ideas right now in the market. Because look, a 10 can only go down in the future. A 9 at least can go up one grade. Of course, can also go down. But again, focus on true rarity is difficult to have a good definition, but focus on things that you believe. Look, this is a PSA 3, this is a SEC 3. If one day will be a 2, if one day will be a 4, does not matter that much. What matters is actually the card I'm buying. So
Yeah, and one more take here to talk about the counterfeit portion of it. I think that the most important thing for grading companies, more than the grade, is the authentication. So I would care less about the grades than I do the authentication itself. So from that perspective, if the grading company can't authenticate correctly, then yeah, I don't think the grade is
no,
important.
100%. It's a scandal that right now, if you are trying to buy a Messi rookie sticker, a Cristiano Ronaldo sticker, you need to be careful. That's a scandal. I'm sorry. Look, people need to be a little bit more harsh with grading companies, because we are talking about a business that makes a lot of money. The margins are crazy, because we know they are crazy. At one point in time, PSA was accepting cards for $6 if you are part of the membership. So if they are asking $50 right now, imagine how much they are making. And they can still, and this is not only about BGS, SEC, same thing, complete trash. BGS, forget about it, the worst of all of them. They need to be accountable. They need to figure out what they are doing. And look, I'm completely blocked on all the emails by PSA, by SEC, by BGS, because I send emails all the time. I see a fake card, I see something that I think is potentially shade, I send an email. Answers zero. So look, I can't do this alone. I think your viewers, all of us basically need to start basically spamming those grading companies, because they are, look, BGS at one point said that they found a new version for Cristiano Ronaldo rookie sticker. They actually lied. How can this be even acceptable? I mean, this is nonsense. Look, the este Messi sticker, I doubt grading companies know how to tell the difference between the real one versus a fake one. The reason, yeah, look, is the baseball guy that is grading that card, is the Pokemon guy that is grading that card. And of course, you need someone with some type of expertise with stickers. Not easy to find, I understand that. But at least be open with us. Look, you know what? We are not sure about stickers. We may stop grading stickers. We are trying to acquire new technology, new people that can actually help us. That will be amazing. And this is the best I can ask for PSA, SEC, BGS, all the grading companies. The problem is they think they know much better than me, than you, when they have a grader that 2 months ago was without a job. So it's crazy, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about this forever, but it's crazy in my opinion that we place so much value on a grade and authentication that, and a lot of times is determined by somebody that is looking at the card for 30 seconds and has never seen it before, and will definitely not be looking at it as much as you do. So yeah, I mean, I personally would want to see PSA, SGC, whoever it is, all these grading companies shut down and figure out exactly what they need to do to be able to authenticate stickers correctly. They're never going to do it because they don't want to miss out on the profit and they don't want to hurt the market itself. But in the long run, the most important thing is that they get the authentication correct.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll move on to the next one here. Thazo says that the football market will only grow to its full potential once/if the collecting culture evolves in Europe. Shows and shops are essential to the mainstream hobby and attract the big money. Bonus, Asians and Americans are not essential for market growth due to the lack of knowledge in sporting culture. It might be a global sport, but is played in Europe. I want to take the last part of this take and disagree with it heavily. The part about Asians and Americans not being essential for market growth, they're currently the biggest spenders in the market. And the part about due to the lack of knowledge in sporting culture, I think that's a bit of a brash take. There are a lot of Americans that really do understand and love soccer, and Asians as well. So a bit of a generalistic take there. But the fact that the most money is there, soccer is actually the second biggest sport in terms of card collecting in China and Asia right now. I don't think a lot of people realize that, but soccer cards are huge in Asia right now. So that's a massive market. But in the long run, I do agree that it's important that the collecting culture and the hobby in general grows in Europe.
Okay, two things. Asians and Americans are not essential for the market growth. Wrong. That's crazy. The Asian market have a crazy potential in the soccer card market, and the Americans, of course, they are super important. And the reason we have a market is because of Americans right now. So I disagree with that. In the other end, I think Europe needs to enter the hobby. I think we need more European collectors, I'm sorry, because they will understand a little bit better the history of the game. They will value a little bit better certain players. And I would love that as a European. And look, what I've been trying to do on my channel, for example, I have the Investing in Greatness series, is talking about players that, look, they are not Ronaldo level, they are not Messi level, but they are still relevant for the history of the pre-modern market, the history of the vintage market, and we need more of that. And with that in mind, I believe Europeans can actually help a lot, because I'm already trying to do my part on that front, but we need that. I agree and disagree at the same time, but the amazing thing about soccer is the potential that we have international. And it's not only Europe, it's Europe, Asia, does not matter. Almost the continent, all continents, they love soccer. So I agree that we need more Europeans, but I disagree that Asians and Americans are not important, because they are actually very important.
Mm-hmm. All right, we'll move to the next one, which is that the Hot Takes is the best channel on this Discord. I would say it's definitely the most active so far. Best, I think it'll depend on what the takes are, but yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun.
It's a fun one. And again, guys, if you guys are watching this, if you are not part of the Discord, join the Discord and share your hot take, because this is the first time we are doing this series, but maybe we will do another next week, next month. I don't know, but leave your hot take, and there is a likely scenario guys will appear in the video.
Mm-hmm, definitely. Wasabi Trading, great friend of the show here. Number one, League One is more interesting than Serie A because the young players actually leave their home league to test themselves abroad versus rotating between the big local teams. I think that's a case-by-case basis. Personally, I find League One more interesting, but that's just because I don't have any interest in the Serie A in terms of I don't have cards of any of the players in there. Just not really interested in any of their young prospects. So to me, League One is subjectively more interesting, but I think that's up for debate.
Look, Serie A is a better league than League One.
Yes, it's for sure a better league.
I think that's fair to say. For the hobby, League One is more important because, look, if you have Messi in your team, the Messi market is bigger than the entire Serie A market. That's also so. There is some truth in this take. I'm not a big fan of Serie A. I'm going to be real. Actually, I like Premier League, Bundesliga, and La Liga, and of course Portuguese league. So Serie A was in the past. Serie A was amazing. Right now, I think it is a good league, but I would say I agree and disagree at the same time with this one.
All right, his second take here is that Haaland is a wait and see right now, despite the transfer. This is what you talked about before, but Pep has a history of ostracizing players that don't match his tactics, and Haaland will need to adapt and learn to drop deep and be more mobile. Key example, look at Pep versus Ibra and Eto. His ideal striker are mobile and fast, Villa and Aguero.
I agree. that one, I agree.
Yeah, I think it's a wait and see with Haaland as well. I think a lot of people assume that just because he's going to City, he's going to perform really well and his prices are going to explode. But I think this is exactly what a wait and see is.
But I would say one thing. In the other end, Pep Guardiola ended up coaching Lewandowski.
Mm-hmm.
And Lewandowski was amazing with Guardiola. So I would agree in general, because I really believe he likes a player with David Villa, Aguero, even Gabriel Jesus. I thought was the type of player that he likes. But again, Haaland is so good that I also believe one thing. Cristiano Ronaldo is not the perfect player for Guardiola, but I believe Cristiano Ronaldo would play amazing for Guardiola, because yes, Ronaldo is the man. So if Haaland is the man, he probably will eventually play very well.
Yeah. All right. The next take here is from Ampervier, which is that Antony is overhyped and has not performed consistently enough to make it into Brazil's World Cup squad. I want to address the second part of this. I think it'd be ridiculous if he didn't make the squad at this point. I don't see how many players would be in front of him, so I think he's a shoo-in to make the squad. Overhyped in terms of the hobby. I mean, maybe he's really expensive, but he is probably going to get a big transfer, and he perhaps to PSG after Mbappe leaves. That'd be great for his market. So he is expensive right now, so he might be overhyped, but I think making the World Cup squad for Brazil is pretty much a shoo-in at this point.
Okay, I would say one thing. Antony is overhyped in the card market. In the soccer world, I'm not sure about that. In the card market, he's overhyped, but guess what? I believe most of the new kids are overhyped, and I'm putting Mbappe and Haaland into that. So, of course, Antony is also quite overhyped. But I honestly believe Antony is amazing. I said this a couple of times on my YouTube. He's the player that remembers me, Robin, the most, because he basically only has the left foot, and he always does the same trick. Runs fast, push the ball inside and goal. And but guess what? If you are good enough, like Robin was, that's enough. And I think he actually deserves to be on the Brazil squad. But I agree in general that most of the new kids are overhyped.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you could take Antony's name here and paste pretty much anybody that's in any ultramodern product.
I would say one thing. From all the new kids, I don't think Antony is the most overhyped. So.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Who do you think is the most overhyped? That's a tough question.
I think it's Foden. I really think it's Foden, because his stats are not impressive. So another hot take that is not on the Discord. I think Bernardo Silva is a better version than Foden, for example.
Yeah, Silva's a lot further in his career development, but I think Foden at his fullest potential would be fortunate to be that sort of player.
I know there is a lot of Phil Foden collectors. I really think he's overrated. But again, can Phil Foden one day win Ballon d'Or? There is a scenario on that. So
yeah, there's a lot of guys.
I would say one thing. When you look at Mbappe, Haaland, and I would say even Vinicius Junior, and you compare with Foden, I mean, I would not be very confident on Foden, because if you have guys that are scoring 20 goals, 30 goals per season, 10 assists, 20 assists, whatever. I know people will disagree, because there is a lot of Foden collectors. So.
Yeah, I think it's interesting you bring up Vinny, though, because I think we're so hesitant to put him in that group with Mbappe and Haaland, but
Vini is much better than Foden. I mean, look at the stats. Yeah. Look at the season for Vinicius Junior. And again, I can be wrong on this, but in a world with Mbappe and Haaland, seeing Phil Foden winning Ballon d'Or seems crazy to me. It's possible, of course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just a tough position for him. I mean, De Bruyne didn't win Ballon d'Or, and he's never been close.
Much better than him as a player. At least my perspective again.
Yeah. All right, we'll move forward. IG Football Man says that Harry Kane, this is the first one, Harry Kane is ridiculously overrated. I said no to this one. I did a whole video actually on why Harry Kane is actually probably a pretty solid value investment right now. So I won't go into super details about that, but I would disagree with this take. I think from value investing perspective right now, he's actually a really good option.
Okay, so this emoji is disagree?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, so I actually agree with this one. I actually think Harry Kane is overrated. Look, I'm going to tell you the Harry Kane's career right now. Harry Kane will end up ending his career without titles. The only title most likely will be the top goal scorer for England, and that's big.
And he could have that by like 30 or 40 goals. He could be way ahead.
I believe the second place is Rooney, and the third is Bobby Charlton.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, Harry Kane is not close to Wayne Rooney or Bobby Charlton. I mean, he can score 100 goals more. I'm not. Harry Kane is a good striker, but the thing with Harry Kane, I remember people on the hobby saying, "You know what? Harry Kane is in the same level as Lewandowski." I always thought that was bananas. I'm sorry, I don't see it that way. I think Harry Kane is a good striker. Playing for Tottenham does not help, let's be real. I also understand that, but in the end, titles will be everything. So if you are just playing the short mid-term with the World Cup in mind, like you said, could be a good buy, especially because England is quite strong, and who knows? I don't think England will end up winning the World Cup, but they are a very strong team. If you are playing long-term mold, I'm not seeing it.
I think there are better buys in the long term, but I think for what Kane has already accomplished, and he's actually still only 28 years old. I know it seems like he's been around forever. So I do think he is going to have more opportunities to add to his trophy case. And his stuff is so cheap right now that I think there's a case for value investing in him. But obviously, it's not the case that we would make for Messi, Ronaldo, and all the other guys, of course.
Okay, he's cheap. But now think about this. Samuel Eto'o is cheap.
I agree.
Drogba is cheap.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm trying to say? Thomas Muller is cheap. Schweinsteiger is cheap. Rivaldo is cheap. Do any of those names, do you see Kane being better? I mean,
if Kane wins England a major trophy, I think there's a chance that he could be thought of more highly.
If he wins the World Cup, becoming the top goal scorer. But do you really want to place your bet on that idea?
No, but I do think that the fact that he has 2 chances at a World Cup and 1 chance at a Euro, I think you have some pretty obvious exit points if he does pull it off.
Again, maybe. I'm not a big fan. I have to be honest. But again, this is fun. It's so difficult to predict, so who knows?
Yeah. The second take is the take that we've already been over a few times here, which is the R9 Messi CR7 one. So we can go ahead and skip that for now. Okay. The hen house says that no one outside of cards will know who Moukoko is in 5 years. I'll let you start with that one because I have my own Moukoko takes.
Okay, so amazing take because I agree 100% with this take. I think Moukoko most likely will not be relevant. I think 5 years is a lot. I believe if 2-3 years will be enough for this take to be true. Look, the Moukoko mania was something else. Let's be real. I believe a PSA 10 or a BGS 9.5, something like that. The top snow card sold for $500.
It was $700 at the peak in a PSA 10.
$700. Right now is what? $50.
No, it's like 15 or 20.
Oh my God. But it was $50 2 or 3 months ago. So it keeps going down. Look, if you bought Moukoko, no shame on that if you are new to the market. But if you don't learn from that, shame on you. So, yeah, I passed the word. I agree 100% with this one.
So I am probably the biggest Moukoko fan that is not personally invested in him because his prices were too ridiculous to invest in at first, and they're probably still a little ridiculous now. But I will say Moukoko is still 17 years old, which I think is insane to think about. His expected goal stats when he plays in the actual Bundesliga are very comparable to some of the top strikers in that league. So for him, I think it's more of a question of, is he going to be healthy and is he going to get the minutes with Dortmund to be able to produce? It doesn't look like he'll get the minutes at Dortmund. They've just brought in Adiemi. They'll probably bring in somebody else. So he's going to have to go on a move, either a loan or a transfer to a smaller club. So that's not going to be great for his market, but I do believe in his talent, but I don't believe in him as an investment at this point.
I mean, yeah, again, it's not that I wish anything bad for Moukoko. If Moukoko ends up becoming an amazing player, I will be happy. I mean, it's great, but man, it's so difficult to reach the top level in soccer. And if Moukoko in 5 years is playing at Schalke 04, which decent team, but that will not be card relevant. That's a problem.
Yeah, I agree. I think he obviously has a long way to go, but the peripherals of him being 17 and already being really good in terms of expected goals in the Bundesliga, I think are good signs. But obviously, it's just impossible to know that far down the road.
Okay.
Alrighty, moving down to the newest one here, which is Fathers on Slabs again. We should pay a premium for stickers that show signs of being glued. This was their original intent over perfect tens. I'll go ahead and say no, that hasn't been true for any other hobby, for any other market. If there's a glue stain on it, nobody is going to pay a premium. If you want to have that for nostalgia purposes and personal collecting, having the glue on there, I get it. It's kind of cool to think about how it was once glued into an album and that sort of thing. But the market's just never going to agree.
This is the best one so far. This is a great take. I think this defines actually the channel. Hot takes. This is what I call a hot take. And look, I understand the logic, but no. I mean, because actually you finding a perfect copy is what is very impressive. So it's not like it's the same logic as, you know what, a old car should be more expensive than a new one. That's not how things work. But I love the idea. I love the way you end up trying to push the narrative. Look, there is argument on this for one reason. If a lot of fakes keep appearing on the market, well, the reality is if you buy one with glue on the back, there is a scenario that's actually a real one. So who knows? I hope that's not the case.
Then we get to next level fakes where people start gluing the fake ones.
Yeah. So I hope that's not the case. But this is a really fun one. So, and this is the last one.
Yeah, that's a good one to end on. So as we end that one, Andre, do you have any hot takes you want to dump here at the end? Just give us a hot take quickly. I'll give you one too. I'll try and come up with one.
It's similar to what I said a couple of minutes ago, but I would put it in a different way. I think we are probably seeing a bubble in the grading game right now. I think people being so sure that 5 years from now, 10 years from now, a PSA 10, a BGS 9.5, a BGS 10, a SEC 10 will have the same importance than they have right now. I think, honestly, that's a huge mistake. And there is even a scenario that grading matters, but in a completely different way than we are expecting. Because as a humans, it's very difficult to imagine without having some concepts that we know right now. So if you imagine the future, you always put in perspective what you know, and you try to do some upgrades. But the future is always more different than what we can actually predict.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree. There's a bubble of sorts there. My hot take today will be based on something I actually saw when I logged into Instagram this morning, which was a picture that somebody had of a PSA return they just got back that was between 50 and 100 base Donruss Mbappe cards. And they had put in the description something like they plan to liquidate it over the next few months to consolidate into a 2017 or 2018 Mbappe, which I think is the right move. But they also said that they're going to wait for the base Donruss cards to go back up in value before they liquidate. My hot take here is I think if you're sitting on base stuff specifically and you want to consolidate into something else, please don't wait for the market to come back on that kind of stuff. I would cut your losses now and start consolidating. I know we're in a down market and there's a possibility in the future that these base cards will move up 20, 30%, but I think there's a much greater likelihood that they drop another 50% just given the market conditions, how many are coming back from PSA. So I think now if you're stuck with a bunch of base stuff, it's a good time to cut your losses and buy things that you want to consolidate into in the down market because those will likely appreciate better.
I agree. Don't die with your mistake, basically. I mean, if you bought base stuff, look, it is what it is. I also make mistakes all the time, but trying to correct them is important. And if you are trying to time the market with base stuff, I mean, that's really dangerous, being honest.
Yeah, it's okay to cut your losses too. I mean,
yeah, of course.
I'm sure we both taken massive losses. I'll share my biggest loss. My biggest loss was a 1959 Heinerley Pele that I bought for, I believe, $3,000 raw, and I graded it, and it got like a PSA 1.5 when I didn't expect it to, and I ended up selling it for less than $1,000. This was maybe a year ago or so, but yeah, that's an immediate near $2,000 loss. So yeah, mistakes happen.
Well, I would say one thing. I never bought base, never, because I always, again, my background is probably very different than most collectors in the market since I've been collecting for a lot of years in a different market. But I always understood that things that are old, things that are rare, they are important for the market in question. And I always end up focusing a lot on vintage and pre-modern. Am I down in a couple of cards? Yes, but I'm not selling them until they go to the price that I went. And to be fair, let's be real. Everything, not everything, but let's say in a general way, what you bought 1 year ago is down right now. And I bought things 1 year ago, so I'm down in a couple of things. I bought a couple of Messi rookies, for example, 1 year ago. I'm down on those cards. Do I think those cards will go back to all-time highs, or at least put me in the green, basically? Yes, because again, I bought the value, not the price. I paid the price, but I got the value.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now is at least in my opinion, I think it's a good time to consolidate into things you believe in for the long run. If you're in this for the long run, now is probably a good time to be doing that, especially while things appear that they're on discount, even if that means taking some losses in the short term. So, and
just one thing, I'm sorry. The thing is, the soccer card market is so good for that. Look, today, I guess this is a spoiler, I was recording a video that I made the video of investing in greatness for Kaká. I was looking at the pop reports for Kaká. They are so low. Look, guaranteed, the rookie, a little bit expensive. Yes. A second year card that maybe with São Paulo still in Brazil, that maybe people in the future, and I believe in that, will still consider rookie material for Kaká. Man, you can buy that card for $100. If you are lucky, if you go to some Brazilian website, maybe $50. And you are buying a card that fundamentals are so good. There is strong rarity. In markets like the NBA, baseball, and guarantee I'm not playing on those. But the idea that I have is those markets are very optimized right now. I guess I can share an example. Magic the Gathering. If you try to buy vintage Magic the Gathering, everything is expensive. At least things that have good fundamentals, they are crazy expensive. Why? Because people have been collecting the game for 30 years. So a lot of collectors know what they are doing on the Magic the Gathering market. On soccer is not the case. There is, look, like I said, 1 year ago, Benzema rookie was $20. Thomas Muller rookie was $20, $30. Kaká second year card that eventually can be a rookie material, $50, $100. And we are talking players that are again, legends, very important for the history of soccer. Look, I remember a couple of weeks ago, I believe a SCC1 or a PSA1, Muller, I'm talking about the Jared Muller, end up selling for what, $200 or something like that. So
yeah, you can get a PSA1 or an SGC1 of the Muller rookie for around $150 to $200 right now.
Look, a player that ended up winning Ballon d'Or, a player that a lot of people consider one of the best strikers ever. And your entry point for a card that I believe the pop report is below 50, eventually will go down, will go up. But those cards, they actually have some type of rarity. So look, soccer is such an amazing market. If people do the research they need to do, they will be very happy in the future. I honestly believe in that. And again, I talk with you all the time about this. I believe a lot on the Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo insert market. I think those cards can one day be very important cards for Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo collectors. Guess what? You go to Toda Coleção, to eBay Spain, you find these cards sometimes for $20, $10. I mean, and honestly, this is, I guess this is another hot take. A lot of people trying to flip cards right now on the market are doing in the wrong way, because they are trying to buy Phil Foden out of 10, Antony Gold Prism or Top Scrum, whatever, when those are actually quite risky, because if the guy gets injured, if the team goes out of the Champions League, if they buy certain Messi cards in Spain, certain Zidane cards in Italy, they put that card on a slab, very easy to flip with profit. So
it's a different kind of flipping, and it takes a little bit more research than looking at market movers or card ladder.
But James, when you understand that those markets is basically free money. Again, I hate to say this type of things because it's dangerous.
No financial advice.
and if everyone starts doing that, things will not work, of course. But at least now, if you put time into the market, even if your budget is, let's say, $200, let's say $1K, I understand for a lot of people could be a lot of money. But even if your budget is $1K, if you put time in the market, if you do that research, if you flip the way I was explaining, one day that 1K will be 10K, one day that 10K will be 20K, and things keep of course things get more difficult because liquidity becomes also a problem. One thing, if you are selling 2 or 3 Zidane inserts from Italy, other things is if you are trying to do that, for example, with 100 copies. So
yeah, exactly. And so the point here is, if you do the research, even in this down market, there are some glaringly obvious opportunities to attempt to make money in this market. I won't call it free money, but there's some obvious plays to be made if you can do the research to find what they are. I personally have an eBay saved search list of, I think it's 105 different searches, and I know immediately, depending on what the price is on any of those saved searches, that I have a very good chance at making a good return based on what gets listed. So yeah, definitely doing the research will lead to some good opportunities, especially in a down market.
Because James, a lot of people, they do not understand one thing, that there is 2 markets: an explored market versus explored markets. And explored markets, you need to grind, but they are, first of all, they are way more fun in my perspective, and second, they can actually be very profitable. If you go to, I'm talking about an explored markets. If you go to explored markets, look, I'm not saying, of course, you can do money on explored market, but expect way more competition on that front. An example I give all the time is the Panini Melhores Equipos de Europa, Thierry Henry. Look, at one point in time, the market did not even know that card was a rookie for Henry. But if you did your own research, and if you realize, you know what, PSA have been mislabeling this card. This card is not 97. This card is actually season 96, 97. I mean, again, free money hates that idea. But if you believe in the market, if you believe that the education eventually will come, that was a great buy. That card was what, $30, $50, maybe even less at the time, putting a random number, but was quite cheap. Right now, to buy one raw, I believe you need what, $200, maybe even more.
So if you want one in like mid-grade condition raw, it's like $400 or $500.
So yeah, look at that crazy difference, and the same thing end up happening with Iniesta. I remember 2 years ago, the only rookie for Iniesta was Moukoko. No,
Yes.
Superliga de Estrelas is also a rookie, but I also believe PSA graded a couple with 2003 and not 2002. And people basically they see the market, they go to the easy side. Again, this is me being real, but again, grind the market. That's the key.
Yeah, funny story about that Iniesta set with the stickers. A couple years ago when I got in the market, I found somebody that was selling a bunch of the stickers from that set, and I didn't realize that the Iniestas were rookies from that set. So I bought like the Zidane, I bought like Eto's, I bought like Xavi's, and I didn't buy the Iniestas, and I ended up gemming like half of those stickers. So if I would have bought the Iniesta ones or realized that those were rookies, they would have been insane. But yeah, no, that's where the research comes into play.
I believe Fernando Torres is also a rookie on that set, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, actually, this is a very fun story. One guy on this case on Discord ended up sharing a Benzema 2007 McDonald's.
Yes, that was really cool. I'd never seen it.
I actually think that card is 2006, 2007 in terms of season. So that guy may end up finding another rookie for Benzema that most likely, again, we don't know this for sure, but most likely at this point, or at least seems like is more rare than the Panini Foot 2007. So that guy...
Oh yeah, the natural destruction of those must have been extremely high.
Maybe the guy got a little bit lucky, to be fair. But if he actually was trying to find something new, if he actually was grinding the French market, that could be a holy grail one day. Because look, Benzema most likely will win Ballon d'Or. Benzema is one of the best strikers ever. If that card is pop 1, pop 2, that will be an expensive card. The guy sends that card to Goldin and probably makes a lot of money. I mean, that's the reality.
Yeah, and so those opportunities are still out there, but the research is the grind, and it's like you say in some of your videos, you have to love the grind, right?
Yeah, otherwise it will be difficult. You really need to look. If you keep thinking, look, money is my goal on this, that's a really bad way to approach the market, because knowledge should be your goal on this. That knowledge, time in the market will give you the money if you really want to make money with this.
Yeah, definitely. I'll buy time here for a couple seconds because it looks like Wasabi is typing us a new take. So we'll get a live reaction hot take before we wrap up. But yeah, no, it's been great having you on. I always enjoy these sorts of discussions, and I think it's really important for the market in general to have these sort of more laid back talks that also have some controversial opinions and stuff with educated folks in the market, because it's a lot more valuable to hear people discuss things like research and pop reports and all this, rather than this card is going to the moon, this card is up X%, those sorts of types of content. But the long form stuff I am always really curious to watch.
And the thing with data, look, I use some data on my videos, you also use some data on my videos, but I also think people overrate data a little bit. I will explain why. Data can tell you whatever you want. Is the type of thing that you can look in so many perspectives. Look, for example, in the stock market, you have two types of analysis: fundamental and technical. I honestly think the technical is BS. I'm being real. I think you are trying to predict random things with a technical analysis. I understand there is some merits on that. I'm joking. But the fundamental analysis is actually the grinding. Is okay, what is this company doing? Why so many people is bullish on this or in that? And in soccer, you can apply the same logic. Look, looking at pop reports, even my dog can do it. I'm going to be real. I mean, it's very easy to teach that type of stuff. If a card is pop 1, that does not mean anything in soccer. I'm not saying ignore pop reports. That's crazy. But the reality is you need to go to the next level in your brain. Just forget pop sometimes. The card is pop 10. You go to eBay Italy, there is 50 copies raw. So forget about pop reports. Not saying that data is irrelevant, but some people really trust that a little bit too much. In my perspective, experience on the market is something that is more difficult to quantify, but is the best asset you can have when trying to grind the market, honestly.
Yeah, and I will say that one thing I talk about in my videos is the fact that the market itself is meant to be inefficient and irrational because we're not dealing with a super optimized asset class, and we're not dealing with a super optimized opinion on how things are valued either. So there's always going to be reasons why the fundamentals and the statistics behind things don't make the most sense that they should.
No, for sure.
All right, we got the last take here from Asabi. The Javi's expectation on Haaland based on his first season, he needs to be the Golden Boot race, and Man City need to make the Champions League final. I'll let you start.
Again, is similar to the other take. He's again the expectations will be quite high, but again, Haaland is a monster. So I also will not be shocked if Haaland is actually the Golden Boot winner, because to be fair, he almost did that with Dortmund. I mean, it was not that far from Lewandowski. So it's possible, but again, every player that is a new kid, there is dangers related with them.
Yeah, I would say I agree with this take specifically about the Javi's expectation being that he needs to be this monster that he was at Dortmund in this first season for Man City, because of how short the attention span of the Javi really is. Grealish moved there, and for a couple of weeks, Grealish was the hottest prospect on everybody's mind. And I don't think I've heard Grealish's name said in any piece of content since he moved to Man City. So the Javi is a very short attention span. So if Haaland doesn't perform to a world-class level, I think he could fall out of the pecking order pretty quickly. But obviously, if he plays really well, it's going to do wonders for his market.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think there is a lot of price-in effect on Haaland, on Mbappe, because
I did a whole video on it, not to plug myself.
they are already pricing that Haaland will be the man, basically, and
yeah,
Haaland,
the priced in. Yeah, I'll go ahead here. The priced in effect for Haaland on purely math fundamentals is that 35% chance or better at being Lewandowski or Ronaldo, and the soccer card market needs to 4x in the next 10 years to make his prices worthwhile.
And that's possible, by the way.
Yes, definitely. It's 100% possible.
It's not like that is impossible, but it's difficult, and is about what I was saying. Let's say you buy a Kaká card. Can Kaká go 10x in the next 2 years, 3 years? Doubt. But can Kaká increase 20%, 30% of what you are paying right now? I think it can. The thing with Haaland is, if Haaland only goes up 20%, that's a disaster. But with Kaká, it's quite good. Why? Because the spectrums, they work this way. If you are okay, think about this. If you are investing in Haaland for 1K, doesn't matter, whatever, one card that you buy for 1K, that is a rookie card. Most likely, let's be real, you are expecting that card to be at least 2K. And I would say even most likely 5K, 10K. Because that's
your hope when you're buying it.
Because the spectrum is huge. But guess what? If you are okay, hoping that card will be 10K one day, you also need to be okay that the card can go down 50%, 80%, or even go to zero, because that's the type of dangers you are entering. It's the same thing, and I guess I'm repeating myself on this, but if you invest in a new company, okay, if you invest in a very good company, look, a 7% return is very good. But if you invest in a new company and they promise you 7%, you will not take it. Why? Well, because your risk is huge. So same logic applies on Haaland versus Pelé versus Maradona. Of course, if you buy a Maradona card right now, the card most likely, if the market as well, will increase, but will never give you a 10x. Never, and probably there is also that scenario, but most likely will never give you that scenario. But the Haaland, the Antony, Pedri, Foden, those guys can give you that, because we know the hype around the new kids. But again, always, and this actually could be my final message to all the viewers. If you are okay gaining 10x, be okay with losing everything, because spectrums go both ways.
Yeah, and I'll say that the thing with investing in a guy like Maradona is that he has a 100% chance of having the career of Maradona. You're not taking any of the performance risks that you are with any of the new kids. So he already did it. It's kind of funny to think about it like that.
Yeah, but the thing is, you buy a rookie Maradona for 2K. Next year, it's probably the same price, or will be 2.5K, which is crazy. If it goes to 3K, it's already a crazy return. But if you buy Haaland, if Haaland performs like a madman, yeah, the card you bought for 1K could very easily be 10K right now. And that's very tempting. That's why it's gambling in the end. That's people love gambling because of that, because you put $1 and you make 10. But the problem is, we know that in the end, most people tend to lose money with this type of ideas of gambling.
Yeah, nobody wants to get rich slow, right?
No, and the thing is, you start entering the hobby, you go to an Instagram profile and you see, look, this guy have Pelé, Liverpool, Get, Ronaldo, Mega Prax, all the good cards. Look, this will be difficult for me to get to this level. This is the first thought. And it's a normal thought. And again, the most you feel behind in life, in your goal specific for in the soccer card market, the more will be open to do stupid decisions, because you think, look, I'm so far away from this guy that I really need to make some crazy decisions. You know what? Pedri, all the money goes for Pedri. Pedri will be the next Lionel Messi, and you put all the money in Pedri. And again, there will be an outlier in the market. There will be a guy that you know, that end up, look, that guy investing on that player and he's living the best life ever. Yep. And you believe that will be the reality. But the reality is, most people lose money trying to prospect on players. And I know there will be a smart Andy on the comments saying, no, if you look in the last 2 years, that's not the case. Yeah, but the last 2 years are not a good example at all. Take a look, for example, 10 years, 20 years, that makes way more sense than just looking in the last pool run. Again, everyone made money.
Yeah, and I talked about this in one of my videos. The soccer market specifically has never seen an entire Wonder Kid's career from start to finish. So there's a lot of built-in expectations, and the general market really doesn't understand what the failure rate is actually going to be for these kids.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah, so no, great conversation today. Thank you guys all for checking out the video. Obviously, if you haven't subscribed to Soccer Study, go check out his channel. I'm sure I'll leave the link in the description here if you haven't seen him before. But yeah, Andre, thank you for putting this together. I appreciate you having on my channel as well as going on yours as well. So yeah, no, I think it's been a lot of fun.
No, for sure. Yeah, thank you so much for having me on.
Perfect.